am so excited to be here. My name is Amy Bream, and I am here with Lauren Farhat and Tim Murray. Not Timothy. We want specifically Tim Murray. And we're here to talk about the world of adaptive athletics. So, all right. Are you guys excited for this?
Very excited.
Can't wait. I'm like, this is awesome.
Well, let's just start out and have you guys share your story. First of all, what is your adaptation? Because that alone, most people don't even know, well, what do you mean by adaptation? Because it differs per person. And what got you into this world in the first place? Lauren?
Yeah, so I was born with a condition called PFFD, proximal femoral focal deficiency, which you might be familiar with.
We actually have the same.
We do. And it's a total mouthful when you try and tell it to people. But basically what that means is my right leg was significantly shorter at birth than my left, and ultimately is what led me to wearing a prosthetic full time. And what led me to competing in CrossFit was I grew up in a family full of athletes. Sports were very much a big part of all of our lives. And so in elementary, middle school, high school, I opted to just play on the able-bodied teams at my school. I am 6 feet tall and absolutely love basketball. That was my sport. So I played basketball and a little bit of volleyball. And in elementary and middle school, ultimately, that worked out. You know, you're young. Sports aren't like that do or die at that point. So kind of got away with it as the only adaptive person on those teams. But then once I got to high school is kind of really when I noticed that shift in, maybe my adaptation is going to play a role in these types of things. And so I played basketball for my first year in high school. And then when I wanted to try out my sophomore year, basically our athletic manager at my high school was like, hey, how about we bring you on as the team manager instead? And obviously there was no negative connotation to that on their end, but to me it was kind of like, that stab in the heart of like, no, man, it's not what I want to do, and I want to be an athlete, and I want to do these things. And so at that point in time, I just wasn't familiar with adaptive sports. Grew up with a single mother, and we just didn't really have the resources available to kind of look into those things. And so then I finished up high school, not really playing sports anymore formally, and went to college and was like, I really miss it. I love just being physically fit, physically active. And so I got myself back into the gym just on my own. At that point in time, it really wasn't about doing it adaptively. It was just about doing it and just trial and erroring on my own. And so eventually over time, just after years of strength training and working with some personal trainers, I entered into my adulthood and I was like, man, I still feel like there's a lot more that I can do with my body. And I just feel this natural inclination toward being an athlete. And I want to explore what's out there for me. And now I do feel like I have the resources to explore what those things are. And so it took a little bit of time, but eventually I found adaptive CrossFit. And I was like, wow, the sport of fitness, that couldn't be more perfect for me and what I love to do. And I looked into it more. And eventually I came across your profile. And I was like, that's it. Yep, that's what I want to do. This is what I'm doing. And I'm going to go to the games and I'm going to be like what Amy's doing. And here we are. And it's been history from there.
Yeah, you are so great. I like love hearing that. That means so much to hear, but also it's so interesting because like you said, we have the same birth defect, but we're going to like go through everyone's adaptation. Tim, don't worry, you'll get to share in just a second. But I always say like this world is so interesting because everyone's adaptation is like a thumbprint because we have the same very rare condition, but our limbs are completely different.
So different. And we move differently.
Mm-hmm. We get people like when we compete, we'll be competing in a few weeks and we get people ask like, well, why aren't you doing those movements the same? It's like, because like the way that our body is structured is not the same.
Absolutely.
And so it's like one of the beauties and one of the really hard things.
Exactly.
And we'll get more into that later about how to like program for that.
Yeah.
Like knowing like, well, everyone's going to come in with something different. But I love it because when we compete, I've seen you do things that at first I was like, well, I can't do that movement. And then I see you figure it out. I'm like, dang it.
I know. Well, that's exactly right. It's something I've learned over time too of just competing with you is often in addition to PFFD, I have a hip deformity, and so my hip is fused, leaving me with only 30% range of motion. And so often I'm doing movements with my prosthetic off just because I can move more fluidly that way. But, let's say you're going through a 10-round workout and you've got dumbbell snatches and other things, and you go, wow, I'm dying. And I see you doing it with your leg on, and I'm like, what if I just tried? And I've been doing that this year and surprising myself at the things that you can do. Maybe not, it doesn't look the prettiest, but it gets the job done and it makes things a little bit more efficient. So it's just really fun, I think, to learn from each other in this space as much it is to compete against each other. You know what I mean? Like I learn something every time I see you post on Instagram or we're out there on the floor together.
Oh, we love it. Yep. Tim, we'll stop yapping. You may have
girls.
The floor now.
Sorry.
Thanks for including me in this conversation. But so my adaptation is I was born with achondroplasia, which is a form of dwarfism, one of 200 plus different types now, and I think they keep finding more. Mine's the most common kind. So basically what happens is that my bones just don't grow as fast as everybody else's and stop growing fast as, past a certain time. The biggest limitations that run for me are that my spinal cord basically is running right up against my spinal column. So that's why going upside down or, real heavy back squats, deadlifts, things like that are kind of dangerous at the end of the day, because one false movement, my spinal cord gets hit, and next thing you know, I'm in one of the neuro categories, so, but I got into athletics basically from a very young age. My dad played professional baseball. I was the oldest of 3 kids, but the middle of 20 plus some odd cousins, and all of us got together playing football, basketball, whatever it was, every time we got, had a family gathering. And so the competitive nature was always there. And just growing up in Greater Cincinnati, I had the Reds, I had the Bengals, I had UC Bearcats, the Xavier Musketeers, all in their prime, doing great. Well, minus the Bengals, they weren't really great during those years. But it's just teams going to the NCAA tournament, postseason baseball, and my dad playing professional baseball in collegiate baseball, it was just always there. And I always wanted to do something, and I always tried my hand at different things. What helps for the dwarfism community is we have the Little People of America, but also the Dwarf Athletic Association of America that kind of goes hand in hand, which gives opportunity for kids with dwarfism to be able to participate in sports that, back home they might not be able to excel in because they're 4'5" and everybody else on their team is 6 foot plus. Try going up for a rebound. In that situation, it doesn't go over very well. Well, they go over me very well, but not me over them.
Also, the jokes in the adaptive community are unreal.
Savage.
You laugh your face off. Go to an adaptive competition. You will cry laughing.
And you're allowed to laugh too. Don't worry. We're not. It's a safe space. But then growing up, same thing with Lauren here. Got to middle school, I tried basketball, tried out for the basketball team, and it became one of those, do you want to keep the stats for us? Do you want to be our manager? And I'm like, I'll do it just because I like being a part of a team. That's one of my favorite things to be a part of. But it wasn't the same thing. It wasn't me playing, and I was kind of missing that. So I had the recreational leagues and whatnot, but at the same time, it's just these are all kids that also didn't make their high school basketball team. So you never knew who you were going to go up against, or that one kid who played at his school or went to a school that they're perennial powerhouses, and he's good enough to play on every other team, but that school. So it's okay, well, you're a rec league weekend warrior. Good job, buddy. But and then got to college, and when I got to college, someone through the DAAA told me to try out for the track and field team, the U.S. Paralympic track and field team. And I was like, all right, why not? I'm pretty good at throwing a shot put, putting a shot put, throwing a shot put. But I had no technique. I had no training. I just was using all my body weight and everything. And then went to EKU, Eastern Kentucky, and Richmond, and walked onto the track team, got some training. That's where I officially learned how to like power clean and snatch and do all the Olympic lifting. And ever since then, it's just been finding something new. I just love competing. Like, it's my favorite thing in the world. Like, it's just very satisfying. So like at track and field, then I got to grad school, into the real world, and that kind of took a back state. It went on the back burner, but I was still working out. So I was like, I at least have this. And whatever comes from this is going to come from it. From there, I tried some kettlebell sport. I went to the Arnold Classic twice. Yeah. I won my weight class, but I was also the only one in it.
Nobody has to know
No one
that.
has to know that. Just forget I said that. But also, like, I'm still competing against people, like average height people who are doing the same thing, lifting the same amount of weight, who also might have some, they have the length on me, they have the weight on me, but, I'm still outlasting them on these. Like, if you know anything about kettlebell sport, it's like 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes of work with lifting weight over your head, and it's just constant, and it's like you can't put it down. As soon as you put it down, you're done. So it's like holding on to this 35-pound kettlebell over my head, and I'm like, man, just drop it. Go that way with it, though. And then, obviously COVID happened, kind of wrecked the world for everybody, but after COVID, I saw that they were announcing a adaptive division for the short stature in the CrossFit Games, and I said, I think I found exactly what I need to do, and it's kind of blossomed ever since.
Well, and then so obviously, like, we each have our stories of getting into the world of adaptive sport, but it's so interesting. I think we would all say from our stories so far that there's so many more opportunities now that are like official opportunities rather than just like, oh, like, we're glad that you're here. We're going to stick you in the corner. And like, especially if you're from a small town or wherever, like I'm from a small town, they didn't even know what to do with us. So the fact that there's more opportunity now is great, but it's also like definitely far from perfect. And so like just zooming out a little bit, like still sharing experiences that we've had, but looking at obviously we all have competed together in our divisions in the CrossFit Games and things like that. So what does one training look like when there's not necessarily like a ton of options or people that really know how to program for us? Like, what has that looked like for you and just like the divisions in general? Lauren?
Yeah. So in terms of like me finally feeling like I found good programming for myself, I had to be willing to not only allow myself to continuously learn, like literally learn something new every single day, but allow whatever coach I was working with to also learn alongside with me. Because to your point, yes, there's more opportunities for us now, but there's still so much knowledge that needs to be gained within this community and outside of it. And so the coach that I work with present day had some experience working with adaptive athletes-ish. I think he had worked with maybe one seated athlete before, so it wasn't like terribly nerve-wracking for him to take me on, and he was excited for the opportunity. But it was really just about me communicating with him like, hey, this worked, this did not work, like this went terribly, and not feeling guilty about that on my end or not feeling embarrassed to share that, because that was a big thing too. Like, I think as adaptive athletes, we want to be able to be like, no, we can do this, like we can do these things. But yes, there are some things that we need to adapt, and that's okay. Of course, like that doesn't mean we're scaling, or that doesn't mean that we're not doing something just as hard as, our able-bodied peer or whatever. So that has allowed us to figure out what's best for me and for my unique adaptation, and just being patient with it. You know what I mean? Because you're going to think that, oh, we got it all figured out now. And then, a week later, you're like, actually, this isn't working how I thought it was. And just being able to adjust and adapt from there. And that's what adaptive athletes do. We adapt, right? So,
and I would say I'm going to change the question a little bit for you, Tim. So what would you tell like someone that's maybe a trainer that an adaptive athlete walks into their gym and they're like, like, hey, you train me. like what would you tell the trainer to like how to approach that? Like maybe they're a little nervous because like, I've never really done this before. What would you want walking into a trainer that's never done that? What would you want from that coach?
I mean, I kind of want the confidence. I want to feel the confidence from them. Like, you know, like Lauren said, like nobody's perfect. We're still learning. We're all learning. Like there's nothing just between like, you know, and each individual group, there's still different things. Like each division, like everybody's different. Like, you know, you both move differently. You have the same disability, but your adaptation, but you both move differently. And so like how a coach would train her would train you different. And it just, who knows what it looks like, but you know, but I would just have them like, I just want someone that has the confidence. Like if I'm walking in there, like clearly I want to get better. So like help me get better. Like help me figure this out. Like we'll work together. I'll help you, you help me. And then at the end of the day, like if I get your name on a plaque or podium somewhere, like there's your resume builder.
That's a really interesting point. And I think that is a common misconception that we can all like go up against a lot, where it's like, you don't want to be like, you don't want to hoorah for participating. Like, make me good.
Yeah.
And that means telling me, pushing back. And like, that's scary for someone without a physical adaptation to look at someone who's clearly like already working harder, already having to figure it out, and then be like, that wasn't great. Like, you can do better. But that's what we need.
Yep.
And I think that is like, you know, for the adaptive community on both sides, it's like coaches be willing to push your athletes and athletes be willing to hear that, because there's a difference between like you said, like we're always learning. And I don't know if like you guys feel that, but there's things that we can do that we don't even know we can do because there hasn't been a ton of generations before us doing it. So it's like, I'll be asked, you know, can you do this movement? And you're like, I don't really know, but we're going to figure it out, and having that willingness. So like in your training sessions, like Lauren, how do you approach that? You touched on that a little bit, but like, what's your mindset into something like, you know, you're given something you don't know if you can do it. Like at what point are you like, this is a physical limitation or this is more my mindset than anything?
Yeah, definitely. I think that sometimes can be a hard distinction to make. Like you said, is this mindset or is this actually something that I can't do? And I've just tried to be very open this year in terms of like, when I first started off, I was like, no, like this is something that I have to do with my leg off only. Like there's no other way around it. The movement feels better this way anyway, so on and so forth. And then my coach this year pushing me to be like, okay, we're going to test this workout. We're going to do it once leg off, or we're going to do it once leg on. And then you tell me what feels better. And oftentimes it's the opposite of what I thought would be best for myself. And so it's been a really eye-opening experience to just be like, maybe even though I think I know myself best, maybe sometimes I actually don't. And maybe I just need to have that openness and willingness to push myself beyond. I mean, I don't think adaptive athletes have a hard time pushing themselves in that way, but like just being willing to go through that trial and error and know that there's going to be mistakes along the way, and that's absolutely okay. But like to your point, finding a coach who will do that for you is so important. When I was kind of going through the process of finding a new coach to work with, I almost felt like it was like a vetting process at a certain point. And I had talked to a handful of people who we would hop on a call. I'm giving my intro, hey, competitive CrossFitter, I'm adaptive. And it was like something immediately changed almost of like, yeah, I'm a CrossFit Games athlete. It's like, oh, well, the division, it's really small, right? The playing field's really small. Or like, oh, okay, well, the workouts they're different, right? Like it's not, or like the weekends, they're not that bad, right? Like that would be legitimately things that I would be hearing from these professionals. And you're like, back to the confidence thing, wanting someone to have confidence in you and be like, yeah, no, I'm gonna push you and I'm gonna kick your butt, and like I'm gonna be here to do that with you, and not someone who's just gonna be like, all right, I'm just gonna write your programming, it'll be easy. You don't need to do that much programming because your games aren't as bad or whatever it might be. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's very much a big thing because, you know, I don't know, like Tim, how do you feel like you know, as we grow adaptive athletics in general, there's still so many people who like have heard about it, but they don't really know what it is. And it almost feels almost like a spectacle sometimes. I don't know if you guys have felt like that. So, going into it, what are you really glad that you've seen in the last few years, and maybe what's something that you like would change if you could?
I'm glad to see the growth. I mean, from when I first started in 2022, I think we had 5 athletes competing, maybe 6. The next year was right around the same number, maybe a couple more. And then last year we had 16 people show up, so like sign up for the open. And then, they take the top 20 for the semifinals, so everybody got in, which is fine. But like, you still push because you didn't, like I wanted to win every round. That's how I think. Like some people are like, oh, I'm going to take the open easy, just get to the next round. I'm like, why? Like, we don't have many opportunities, So like, why would I take any time that I get a chance to compete, even if it's virtual, like off? Like, but just we're growing. It's taking a while, but like I think what's going to start helping is the more social media, the more we get seen, all of us, the 3 of us here, and like everybody else that's out there, like especially next September 9th? No, 12th, sorry. I leave on the 9th. There's going to be a couple hundred people out there doing the thing.
So, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced competing? We talked about like our training, but actually when it comes to showing up with other athletes and, everything that it takes to get there, what do some of those challenges look like for you guys?
I mean, it can be a big financial commitment to want to compete in this sport. I suppose in any sport, but a lot of us athletes are working full-time jobs, and then trying to, do our training almost in a full-time fashion. After all of that, CrossFit gyms aren't cheap in general, and getting to these competitions can be pricey. And so I would say if there's a barrier to getting more people out there, that would be probably one of the top things that Adaptive is facing right now. And to Tim's point, we really just need a little more eyeballs on what we're doing. We need people to see that it's not just a spectacle. The things that we're out there doing, like we are, adaptive or not, good athletes, skillful, talented, people pushing past limits no matter what. And my hope is that once we can start to get that out there more in the world, then that can relieve some of maybe that financial pressure that a lot of these athletes are feeling, and especially the athletes that we have coming in internationally, because there's a lot of international adaptive athletes as well.
And one thing to add to that too that people may not think about too is like there's everyone that competes knows that there's a cost to it, adaptive or not, but also there's this pressure that where adaptive equipment is not cheap and it's not covered by insurance. So like, I have a few different prosthetic legs and I've applied for grants because they're 10 to 20 grand. I don't have that cash lying around, and insurance doesn't cover it. But it's, those like for seated athletes, there's a completely different wheelchair that you can use, which is pricey and again, not covered. And you're constantly looking for ways to get it covered. And those are just additional expenses. And right now, while we're waiting for it to grow, there's not like a ton of prize purse. Like there's, it doesn't really, you're not making money. And that's not limited to adaptive athletics. I think that's across the board, but it does definitely impact. So Tim, what are some challenges for you?
I mean, the financial aspect of it is obviously the hardest part. What's lucky for me is I don't have all of this like extra equipment and things I need to bring along. But I work with, I work in professional hockey, like that's my full-time job, but like I also have 2 adaptive classes in Cincinnati that I helped start up. So like, we got veterans who either they were injured overseas or, came home, something happened and had an accident at home and now they're part of our community. I have a former marathon runner who was going in for a brain surgery of some kind. And he had a stroke while they were in there, and now he's like left side. Either way, he's stroke, but he's a stroke athlete, which is like he's like, I want to run a 5K, I want to run a half marathon. I'm like, let's go, and it's just like again the financial side, but also like the support. like if you have the support system, like you're gonna go far. Obviously, like it's what is it? If you go alone, you can go fast. If you go, you can go far further or whatever.
I love that one.
All those words.
We can't remember it.
All those words. Yeah.
It's a saying.
Yeah, it's there. Google it. So like, yeah, it's just the biggest, like, it's just the hardest part is the financial side. Like again, I don't have the issues that a lot of other athletes have with needing the extra equipment, but like it's still expensive for me to get places. Plane tickets are same price as everybody else's. Like hotel stays. Luckily, I have the support of my community back home that's helped with some of that, but it still would be nice to, not have to rely on them, dip it into the same pot.
So with all of that, I think obviously, like you said, finance is a part of it, and also we're wanting to get more eyes on it. I think, that's something that I've honestly struggled with. Not to sound like I have like an ego, but it's really hard when you're working hard for months. And again, this isn't just limited to like adaptive athletes, but when you work hard for months and months on end, and then you show up and you're like, this is amazing to see the support and the coaches and the friends and family, but there's not a lot of adaptive competitions that have eyes on it. That's not just friends and family.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And there's that feeling of like, this is really cool. Like, obviously, like we're biased, but I'm like, when I went to my first ever adaptive only competition, I was like, this is really awesome. Like, so awesome to see people do this stuff. And I don't understand why it's not being shown to more eyes. So with those two challenges in mind, why do you guys still compete? Like, why are you choosing to still show up?
I mean, I think it kind of goes back to that whole being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. Right now, it is challenging and there are those pain points. But somebodies have to be the ones to kind of drive that movement and drive that change. And I think we kind of may be at the forefront of that, on the front lines of all of that, if you will. And that can be a lot to put on your shoulders. And there can be days, months, years where you're like, kind of just want to throw my hands in the air and be done. And especially when we're talking about something where you're exerting a lot of physical effort, when you already exert a lot of physical effort by just having a disability, right? There's just comes a point where like, okay, I don't know. But I just feel very strongly in my heart and my gut that this is not something to give up on. It's something that's so important in my life and has genuinely changed my life in ways that I can't even put into words. I know that there's others who are going to be following in our footsteps who will feel the absolute exact same. And what a gift to be able to share that down the line to our younger generations. It makes me even emotional to think about that. And so I think for me, that's kind of what keeps that fire in my belly to just keep going and to know that there is something greater on the horizon.
Tim?
Just kind of echoing those sentiments, like if we don't keep showing up, who's going to? If we're not there, like we were talking earlier, our numbers are down, but I think it's down across all of fitness in general. But like, I have 4 people where we had 10 last year in my division at finals. So like, it's just like, at what point, again, if let's say I don't show up, like then there's 3. And now, the numbers are even smaller and everyone's gonna be like, well, why do I want to show up if only those people are showing up? But if we keep showing up, then at some point, and we keep getting louder, I think that's kind of the thing too, is we've always, like, I'm guilty of it. Like, I've been pretty quiet. I try to post, like, you can post as much as you want, but like, if you're not loud and vocal, like off of social media from behind, like out in front of the camera versus behind it, then like nobody's going to listen. Like, it's just there out in the cloud, like just sitting there in empty space. Where is our voices, us showing up, us doing the thing, the hard thing, proving that we can do it. Like, I think that's gonna be the biggest thing to change. Like, that's how it's gonna change.
And I think there's also a misconception that being loud means you're being obnoxious.
No,
like,
yeah.
You can speak like with intentionality and like speak. I'm a full advocate of that. Like, there's a difference between like bringing attention to something and being unnecessary noise.
Yeah.
And I think there's like that happens in any space, fitness, otherwise, whatever. But it's important to like find that line of like, you don't need to sit back and be silent. You can talk about like, you know, what you bring to the table, what adaptive athletics mean, because it means so much. But also like make sure there's like, what's the intent behind it? And I think Lauren, you hit that really well of, you said it's not about us, like remembering, and that sounds so cliche to say, but truly like when you think about like, this was not a thing when I was a kid. I saw no one that looked semi in shape, not cool with my adaptation. It was like marketing was like Paralympians, which to me was so far beyond what I ever thought possible. I started like working out for the first time like 2015 in public. And then it was Paralympians, and then there was like geriatric marketing. It was like, I have no one to relate to. And so it is this feeling of like, it's so important to like not give up and to stay at the forefront. So looking, you know, to the future, to what we have right now, what is one thing that you assume that someone knows nothing about adaptive athletics? They're just from the outside looking in. What's one thing that you wish that everyone knew about, one, adaptive athletics in general, and two, about your specific adaptation?
That's a good question. I kind of want to tie it into what we were just talking about, because I think back to the notion of getting loud can sometimes be off-putting to people. I think the reason for that is when you look at something like adaptive athletics or just disability in general, like how do you make that societal change? That can seem like such a grandiose thing to have to change. It's like, as you as one person, you're like, I don't, yeah, good for you, but like I don't want to be involved with that. Like I want to kind of keep an arm's length to it. And I guess I just want to express to people that like, even just start taking one small step to getting to know the adaptive community or adaptive athletics makes all the difference. And the accumulation of that is going to be massive at some point. So whether that be, you know, in your gym offering one adaptive class, or having your coaches take the adaptive training academy course. I mean, how awesome is that to have that then hanging on your wall? And if, you know, an adaptive athlete comes into your gym, that just makes them feel so comfortable. Or, you know what, if you do have a local competition that's for some reason an adaptive competition, go to it. Or buy a ticket to come to the adaptive CrossFit Games this next year or something like that. I think that often it could just feel like a huge thing that needs to take place. And it's like, if we can all just start taking small steps, eventually that's going to come to fruition again in a really massive way. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Do you have anything to add to that, Dan?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is like what I run into a lot, and just in general public, people have no idea who I am. Like fitness world, some people do, like, but outside in the general public, I'm grocery shopping, like trying to buy my groceries for the week. And like, you know, this little kid sees me and he yells something like, "Mom, look at them." And then the mom just goes, "Shh, shh, shh, quiet, 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 quiet." And instead of like, I think what people need to start doing is, instead of that reaction, hey, go talk to them. And then, hey, what do you do? Well, I work with the Cincinnati Cyclones, and then I also do CrossFit, and I do fit, and, you know, and things like that. And it's like, oh, and then like, what do they do now? They go to their Instagram, their whatever, social media, and they're like, oh, okay, that guy's doing some really cool things. So like, and then I think just those the conversations in general public, like the general public, need to happen. So that way people don't view us as something other than human, I guess is the best way to describe it. Like, we were talking earlier, I saw a post like during Disability Pride Month that said, we're the only community where anybody can at any point become part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, when I saw that, I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
One wrong turn, like, you know, one slip and fall, next thing you know, like, hey, come hang out with us. You should have been hanging out with us before that, but come hang out with us now.
Yeah. Lauren, what were you going to say?
Oh no, I was only gonna make a bad joke that Amy and I get to scare kids by telling them we got our legs bit off by a shark. And
That's a good one.
Yeah, you guys, like, I make up stuff with people all the time.
Yes, and then sometimes I think about it too much in the moment. I'm like, which story do I choose? And then I just go blank, and then everything is weird.
It's gone.
Everyone feels
And
uncomfortable.
everyone is natural.
So usually I try and help the parent out by saying I didn't eat my vegetables growing up. And I look at the parents, you're welcome.
So what as I did want to go back to that one question, I just because I'm curious, so nosy, like what's one thing that you wish people knew about your specific adaptation that they might not understand? It can be like even about a specific exercise or like workout. Because there's so many times when I'm working out that someone's like, cool. And I'm like, if you did this with one leg, you would understand like what's happening or just in general, maybe outside of a workout. What's one thing you wish they knew?
I mean, Amy, I'm curious if you feel this way sometimes, but wearing a prosthetic, and I think especially being like a lower AK where your prosthetic goes all the way up to the top, and having your leg on all day long and even just sitting and walking around a lot is so uncomfortable and is so, it just zaps my energy. Like it's just like almost like existing sometimes can be a lot. And so it's interesting kind of getting into this space now, like my colleagues, for example, be like, oh my gosh, you're so fit, you're so strong, all these things. And I'm like, I'm so flattered. And then, you know, we're on a work trip or something like that. And they're like, let's walk to this restaurant. And it's like, you know, over a half a mile. And I am absolutely dying. I'm struggling. I'm hurting. And, you know, then I'm going back to the hotel, taking off my prosthetic and there's blisters and it's not good. And so, I think there's a little bit of like a misconception on that of like people just kind of overlooking some of the small things that validly so, like they might not understand those things. And, you know, it's hard when, I think, especially as an adaptive athlete, you never want to be like, no, like, I can't go on this walk. Like it's good, you know, like you want to be like, yeah, I can do anything, like kind of have that pridefulness about it. And so, something I've just started to learn too is like, just be open and honest with people. Like they just don't know. And oftentimes if you tell them like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't even think about that. Like, yeah, of course, let's Uber, whatever you need. Right.
Yeah.
And it can just go that far. And it doesn't have to be them thinking like, oh, she can't do all these things now. That always used to be such a big fear of mine of like, I don't want them thinking like, I'm a baby or like I'm like being weak or you know what I mean? Like whatever those preconceived notions are. So just trying to be open and honest with people about what you need in a way where it's not like you're complaining because you have a disability.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I don't want to say very similar, but like obviously I'm not walking around in a prosthetic or anything along those lines. I must have forgotten it at home. But like I still like my stride is 2 to everybody else's 1. So like, you know, you go on that half-mile walk to the restaurant, like I'm sweating profusely because I've walked 2.5 times as much as the next person. And now I'm like, well, I have to go back to the hotel and shower and do all this other stuff. But I mean, I also, again, don't want that to be something that prevents people from asking me to do things and hang out, which all of my friends know not to do that because they say I should do more than them anyway. Like, come on, guys. I don't want to do all the heavy work. But, like, you know, then, yeah, some of the things, too, like moving into a house, an apartment or whatever, anything along those lines, like, I'm stubborn enough to say, yeah, I can lift my mattress or help pull this up and things like that. But I'm also, like, at a point where I'm like, you know, I put myself in a very awkward and precarious position by doing this. Like, if that slips, where am I at? Where am I waking up? Or, you know, something along those lines. And it's just like, I think, you know, there are limitations, but it's just a matter of how do you handle them and how do you talk to people about them.
This has been great. I have 2 more questions. And one is going to be for people, because who knows who's going to watch this video of one, if someone's watching this with an adaptation and they're wanting to get involved. We'll start with that one. What would you tell someone? They have some kind of physical thing going on, and they're hearing us talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. What would you tell them? Is it worth it? Should they start? What does that look like?
Absolutely, they should start. And I think it's just that, starting. So when I was thinking about getting into this, like I said, luckily, like I came across your profile and other profiles, and that drove me like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And Kevin Ogar, who runs our adaptive divisions in Colorado. So that made me feel like, oh, okay. But like, I thought that I would have to specifically find like an adaptive CrossFit gym, like someone specific, you know what I mean? Very specific, who knows how to do this. And that held me up for a very long time. I was like, I have to do this the right way, the perfect way. I don't think there is a right way. You're like, this is going to be a windy journey once you hop on it, but I promise you it's going to be worthwhile. My recommendation would be to call your local CrossFit gym or just your local gym in general and tell them your story, and see what they say. Because when, that was kind of how I got into the gym that I'm at now. I called our gym owner. Her name is Carrie. I left her. I remember leaving her a voicemail. Hi, I'm Lauren. I've never done CrossFit before. I want to make it to the adaptive CrossFit games. I need a place to train. Like, will you take me in? And we laugh about it now. She was like, okay, the CrossFit games, sure. But she called me back and was like, absolutely. Like, I've never worked with an adaptive athlete before, but come in and let's make it work. And she was honest with me, like, I'm going to learn a lot and I hope that's okay with you. But let's do this thing. And I think that just finally gave me the confidence of like, oh, okay. Like, I just needed someone to say yes to me. Mm-hmm. That was all that I needed. And from there, everything fell into place as it should at that point. So I think just know that it doesn't have to be a perfect start. It just needs to be some sort of start.
And very similar. I got into CrossFit from another friend, and he started giving me other things like whatever, like his gym's programming, and I was doing it at a Crutch Fitness. Mm-hmm. And like the 2022 Open, we had to have our videos or our workouts either judged by a certified judge or recorded. And I was like, I'm not waiting around for them to watch my video and tell me whether it's good or not. Like, when I can go to this place right down the road. And that's kind of where, like, I don't want to say it opened my eyes to the community, the fitness community, in a different light. Like, I was going to a Crunch Fitness, your box gym, local box gyms, and like everybody's got their headphones in, doing their own thing. And it's just like, there's no rhyme or reason to a lot of these things. And like, nobody was talking. If they were talking, it was kind of like in a creepy way, like the guy trying to flirt with the girl that's wants no business with him, or just like, someone sees a different person, a person with a disability, and they're like, they have to go talk to him. Yeah. Didn't I see you on that movie? No, you didn't. I promise. Why would I be here at Crunch Fitness in Northern Kentucky? Like, come on, no. Like, let's use our brains here. But then, I walked into the CrossFit community and like, Friday Night Lights, I'm like, oh, okay. This is what I'm getting myself into. I can get behind this. And then it's just, again, starting. Like I said, I was afraid. I was scared. I didn't know what I was walking into. I had no idea what I was walking into. Had my safety comfort zone of Crunch Fitness where I had my headphones in. Nobody bothered me. And here I go into this place where I have no idea what to expect, who I'm going to see, what types of things are going to happen. And next thing you know, like, 3 years later, I'm still here. So, like...
Yeah, I like that you said that, not to insert my own answer to this, too. But I think, if you watch this, like, when I was growing up, I didn't have any confidence, and I didn't want to work out in public. And it's just this sense of, like, just because you're afraid, that's not a sign that you're not, like, meant to do it. Yeah. Like, everyone has to go through that period of feeling afraid and awkward and like bad at it. I was so bad at so many things when I started, like, and it's just being willing to like put the reps in and start it messy and uncomfortable. And there's so much like empowerment that happens when you realize that you can physically do things. Like I love to work out, but it's not really about working out. It's like when I leave the gym, I'm like, yeah, I have, one leg and we're doing life, whatever, but I know that I can do hard things because I just finished a really hard workout. Yep. So like anyone with a physical adaptation, it's okay if you're scared. It's okay if you look different. Just do it.
Just do it. Yep.
So final question. So obviously we're here, Tour Stop 2 World Fitness Project. We're having this adaptive conversation, bringing light to it. We love that. What would you say to the leadership even of World Fitness Project, or really anyone wanting to like open their doors to adaptive athletes, whether it's specific adaptive divisions, competitions? What would you tell them? like to keep in mind, or like the maybe one or two number one things to keep in the forefront as you get started? Tim, I'm gonna have you start because I've like had Lauren start every time, and you're like, she took my thought. So you start, number one.
That's all right. I'll just keep talking. Okay. Nah. Honestly,
Pressure's
one
on.
of the things is like I don't think you'd regret it.
Yeah.
Like you're bringing in a whole other community, like not just your able-bodied, not just like your, I don't want to say average person, but like it's essentially your average person can walk into any gym and be fine, like be okay. Like sure they're scared, sure they might not know, sure they might need some guidance, but like now here comes an entirely different community. Sure, it can be scary, like we've been talking about. It can be scary, but you won't regret it. Like it's just gonna help you, one, become a better coach, because now you have to not only learn, or like whatever, like not only learn the different adaptations. How do I adapt a clean and jerk for somebody who has only one leg and can't really put weight on that other side, or has only one arm? Like so many. And then neuros, like we're just
There's so many divisions.
so many
that
divisions
haven't
where
gotten
we
the
can
chance
get
to talk
into
about.
this,
So,
but
yeah.
like I'm not trying to scare you away, but like those are the people that we can help. It's you're helping them at the end of the day too. Like you're giving them that community that they might think they're missing, and depending on what you see on social media, the news, whatever, like that might be what saves them. Yeah, like I think I didn't really touch on this earlier, but like CrossFit saved me. COVID happened. I was coming out of a very dark place, and didn't know what I wanted to do, and I found CrossFit, and here I am 4 years later. Everything's great, can't complain, and I'm here in Mesa, Arizona, with the World Fitness Project. So
Yeah, and I think that kind of back to our larger conversation about people maybe saying, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know enough about adaptive athletics or disability. It's too much for us to bite off. We don't want to do it the wrong way. Just, I guess what I would say to anyone looking to add adaptive divisions to their competition is like, of course, you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, but rely on us adaptive athletes and the adaptive community, because if it wasn't shown here today, we're very passionate about all of this, and we want to help, and we want this side of the sport to grow, and we're willing to put in the time and effort to do that. And so I would just tap on our shoulders and just know that there's so many of us that are willing to help. You don't have to go through that alone. You don't have to worry about it being not totally perfect. That's okay. We're not looking for perfect. That doesn't even really make sense, right? Like we're going to learn along the way. And we just want these opportunities to be a part of something.
Yeah, that's huge. And like practically speaking too, there's so many more opportunities now. There are multiple organizations of people who do adaptive programming now.
Yep.
And I would encourage any organization, a World Fitness Project, everywhere, like look to those people, because it's a lot to like, it is a task. Like it's an undertaking that we've talked, there's so many divisions. I'm not going to pretend like it's this simple, like, just throw them in there. There's a lot of things to think through, but there are like programming and organizations that have done it well for years, and combining resources and knowledge together is like how we grow not just awareness, but the community in general.
Yep.
I think that's what we all want.
Yep. Bring people who know what they're doing already. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is wonderful.
fun.
We
This is great.